This video is going to be short and sweet, showing how to do APA in-text citations. If you need help getting your reference page set up, I've got a video for that, which I'll link to down below and up above. So the basics of in-text citation are always going to be the who, the when, and the where. What that's typically going to look like is the last name of the author, the year that it was published, and the specific place where you're quoting, which is typically a page number. So it's typically going to look something like this. You can see I've got a last name Johnson, the year 1992 that it was published, and I'm referencing something on page 43. But that parenthetical citation doesn't just stand alone in your paper, it usually follows a direct quote. So you can see here I've got a direct quote up above, and then in parentheses afterwards I have the last name, the year, and the page number inside the parentheses followed by a period. If you have a longer quote that's more than about 40 words, you're going to want to do a block quote. So what you'll do is you'll come up to the ruler in Microsoft Word, and instead of having the first line indented a ½ inch, you're going to just indent the entire quote a ½ inch. So you can grab this thing, slide it over a ½ inch, but then grab that top triangle, which is your top line indent, and drag it back so everything's indented a ½ inch. So you can see here that entire quoted paragraph is indented a ½ inch, and I have the parenthetical citation at the end. So that covers direct quotations, but what if you just want to summarize a thought? Well, let's take that first quote we had here and rewrite it. So now you can see we have our first quote rewritten, and it's more summarizing what the author was saying, but I still have the last name, I still have the publication date and page number here. Now, if you're citing a source with two authors, you're actually going to follow the similar format from your references page. You're just going to drop the first initials. So you'll have last name, and then you'll have the publication date and the page number. If your source has 3 or more authors, we're going to again follow the same format from the references page, but drop the first initials. So we'll have the first last name that's listed, comma, et al., and then the same publication date and page number. Now, if your source doesn't have page numbers, you can always quote whatever makes sense. So it might be a paragraph. You could list a specific paragraph or a range of paragraphs. You just shorten paragraph to para or paras and put a period. You could also be referencing a table or a figure. But what if this isn't print format? What if it's a podcast or if it's a video? Well, if it's a shorter video, you're going to put the minutes and the seconds, a timestamp, or it could be a timestamp range, between 2 minutes 41 seconds and 3 minutes and 4 seconds. It's also important to note if it's less than a minute in, you need to put a 0 for the minutes and then put the seconds there. Now, if it's a longer format recording, you're actually going to put the hours, minutes, and seconds separated by a colon. And if the quote takes place before the hour mark, you need to start it with a 0 for the hours. If you're quoting or summarizing an entire work, you don't need to put a page number at all. So what if my source doesn't have an author? Well, we're going to follow a similar format to what's in the references page. I'm going to put the title of it here in quotations if it's an article or if it's a web page or a chapter title. If it's a title of a book, instead of putting it in quotations, I'm going to put it in italic font and just forego the author name since we don't have one. It's also worth noting if it's a particularly long title you're putting here, you can just sum it up with the first couple of words and they can go to your reference page for the full context. It's also important to note you can sort of play around with the format here for whatever's going to make sense for your paper. So let's say I want to switch the wording up here a bit. So here you can see I've switched up the structure of the sentence, but I still have the author, the year of publication, and the page number throughout this citation. Thanks so much for watching. Please be sure to leave comments down below if you have questions, like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that fun stuff. It helps support this channel a lot.